In 1809, decades after the Declaration of Independence, Thomas Jefferson was still harvesting asparagus from the same beds he had planted at Monticello. Across the ocean, one family in Yorkshire, England, is still eating rhubarb from a plant first grown in the 1870s, 6 generations later. According to the USDA's Sustainable Agriculture Report, 2023, perennial vegetables can cut annual labor by 60% and water use by nearly 40%. For gardeners over 55 who value low-effort abundance, these crops are nature's retirement plan. Plant once and harvest for decades. When storms, heat waves, and rising grocery prices make gardening harder, these heirloom survivors stand tall, built for droughts, frosts, and time itself. They aren't just vegetables, they're living legacies. So, let's rediscover 10 heirloom crops that have quietly fed families for more than 150 years. Plants that ask little, give much, and prove that wisdom always grows back. Crop number 1, asparagus. Long before the age of instant results, Thomas Jefferson filled his Monticello journals with notes about his favorite vegetable, asparagus. He called it the most excellent of vegetables and tended his beds for decades. For Jefferson, asparagus was more than food, it was philosophy, a reminder that true abundance takes time. Each spring, those slender emerald spears push through the soil like green miracles after a long winter. Beneath the surface lies a quiet empire, the asparagus crown. According to the USDA Perennial Vegetable Study, 2022, each crown acts as a massive carbohydrate battery. Its thick, fleshy roots can dive more than 6 feet deep, storing energy all summer long. Properly cared for, one asparagus bed can feed a family for 20 years or more. How to grow? Plant once, then be patient. Light harvest in year 3. Never cut the fern-like fronds early. They collect sunlight to recharge the root system. Choose full sun, nutrient-rich soil, and good drainage. Asparagus hates standing water. It's a long-term investment in flavor and self-reliance. A vegetable that asks for faith and rewards it in kind. For gardeners in their golden years, asparagus is a kindred spirit, steady, dependable, and generous over time. Every spear feels like a small victory, proof that patience is still one of nature's greatest currencies. If asparagus teaches patience, the next heirloom teaches endurance. A plant so resilient it has survived wars, winters, and the turning of centuries. Crop number 2, rhubarb. In a quiet corner of Yorkshire, England, a single rhubarb plant has been feeding one family since the 1870s. Long before the first light bulb flickered to life. Every spring, it rises again, crimson and strong, like a living story passed from one generation to the next. Rhubarb is a survivor, built for the extremes of the world. According to the Cornell Plant Longevity Research, 2023, its massive root crown dives deep below the frost line, storing carbohydrates and minerals that let it shrug off temperatures from minus 30 degrees Fahrenheit to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. When properly divided every 8 to 10 years, a single plant can live for a century or more. How to grow? Hardy in USDA zones 3 to 8. Loves full sun and compost-rich soil. Always remove and discard the leaves. They're high in oxalic acid. Harvest only the stalks, starting in the plant's second year. Rhubarb's tough heart and tart flavor mirror the resilience of the gardeners who tend it. It's not just food, it's legacy. A living heirloom that can outlast houses, fences, and even the people who first planted it. For gardeners over 55, rhubarb is more than a crop. It's a bridge between generations. Plant it once, and decades later, your grandchildren might still taste the same pie you baked today. From a crop that endures centuries to one that hides its riches underground. Our next heirloom stores its gold where no frost or famine can reach. Crop number 3, Jerusalem artichoke. French explorers once called it the sweet root of the sun. Native Americans named it sunroot. Modern gardeners simply call it unstoppable. The University of Illinois Nutritional Botany Lab, 2022, found that sunchokes store energy not as starch, like potatoes, but as inulin, a natural prebiotic fiber that feeds beneficial gut bacteria and helps regulate blood sugar. For older adults managing glucose sensitivity, it's a gift from the soil itself. Above ground, sunchokes look like cheerful sunflowers. Below, they're quietly building a treasure trove of knobby tubers, crisp, nutty, and slightly sweet, like a cross between artichoke and water chestnut. How to grow. Plant tubers in spring. Harvest in fall. Leave a few in the ground to regrow each year. Prefers full sun and moderate watering. Thrives even in poor, sandy soils. Once established, sunchokes spread freely, sometimes too freely. They're best planted where they can wander without restraint, perhaps along a fence or in a dedicated bed. For gardeners seeking independence from grocery cycles, sunchokes offer quiet abundance. No replanting, no pampering, just a steady underground harvest that returns faithfully year after year. It's the gardener's savings account, always growing interest below the surface. Sunchokes multiply in secret, but the next heirloom is even more self-reliant. It doesn't just grow, it walks across your garden all on its own. Crop number 4, Egyptian walking onion. Some plants grow, others wander. The Egyptian walking onion does both, a tiny green nomad that plants itself as it goes. By midsummer, each stem crowns with clusters of miniature bulbs. As they grow heavier, the stalks bend gracefully to the ground, setting their offspring into new soil. By fall, they've moved, literally, across the garden, planting the next generation all on their own. The Oregon State University Horticultural Study, 2023, calls this trait apomixis, a self-replicating adaptation that ensures the plant's survival even in poor or neglected soils. Nutritionally, walking onions are rich in vitamin C and sulfur compounds, both known to strengthen the immune system and reduce inflammation. How to grow. Hardy in zones 3 to 9, best planted in fall. Harvest the green shoots as you would chives, or the bulbs as small shallots. Let a few top bulbs fall and root naturally to sustain the colony. In time, a single clump can expand into a patch that feeds you for decades. No replanting, no tending, just quiet persistence. For older gardeners, this onion feels like a kindred spirit, resilient, self-sufficient, and thriving through every season. It's proof that when nature bends, it doesn't break, it roots again. If the walking onion shows us resilience through motion, the next heirloom commands attention through stillness, standing tall, regal, and edible as a crown. Crop number 5, artichoke. Once upon a time, Roman emperors paid a fortune for artichokes, calling them food for the gods. Today, they can rule your backyard instead, towering perennials that bring both elegance and nourishment. The UC Davis Perennial Food Crop Program, 2022, found that artichokes not only enrich the soil, but also sequester 20% more carbon than annual vegetables, thanks to their deep, living root systems that stay active year-round. Each mature plant produces 10 to 15 buds per season, and in mild climates, they can harvest nearly all year long. How to grow. Zones 7 to 11, full sun, and nutrient-rich soil. Space plants 3 to 4 feet apart for airflow. Harvest before purple petals appear. Afterward, flowers become striking ornamental thistles. The silvery blue leaves stretch like open hands, catching the morning light, while the buds, sculptural, layered, and tender, remind us that patience yields beauty. Artichokes are rich in antioxidants, fiber, and prebiotics that support liver and gut health. A gourmet vegetable with substance to match its style. For gardeners 50 and beyond, artichokes symbolize renewal, strong roots below, graceful growth above. They reward care, not perfection, and their long life, up to 7 years, mirrors the slow, steady joy of gardening itself. They're not just food, they're art, medicine, and memory wrapped in green armor. From royal gardens to sacred altars, our next heirloom was once outlawed, its seeds hidden from conquerors. Yet today it grows again, stronger than ever. Crop number 6, amaranth. Centuries ago, Spanish conquistadors outlawed amaranth, calling it devil's food. The Aztecs, who mixed its seeds with honey and used it in sacred rituals, saw it differently, as the grain that symbolized immortality. They called it Huatli, meaning the one that never fades. Despite the ban, amaranth refused to disappear. It hid in forgotten gardens, survived in the mountains, and quietly returned to feed new generations. Today, science has caught up with what the ancients already knew. According to the Harvard Human Nutrition Research Center, 2023, amaranth seeds contain complete protein, all 9 essential amino acids, along with more iron than spinach. It's also high in calcium and fiber, supporting bone and digestive health. Even NASA's space agriculture trials have ranked it among the top 5 crops for climate resilience, thanks to its ability to thrive in heat, drought, and poor soil. How to grow. Sow seeds in warm soil after the last frost. Harvest tender leaves early for spinach-like greens. Collect seeds when flower plumes dry. It readily self-sows for years to come. Amaranth isn't just beautiful. Its cascading plumes of crimson and gold make it a centerpiece in any garden. But beneath that beauty lies defiance, a crop that survived conquest, drought, and time itself. For modern gardeners, it's both nourishment and symbol, proof that strength and color can coexist. While amaranth reaches for the sky, our next heirloom hides its power underground, fiery, fierce, and unforgettable. Crop number 7, horseradish. Farmers like to joke that once you plant horseradish, you're in a lifelong relationship. It doesn't just grow, it takes over. Each root sends explorers deep into the earth, digging in like an old promise you can't undo. The University of Wisconsin Plant Hardiness Study, 2022, found that horseradish roots can reach depths of up to 8 feet, surviving compact soil and freezing temperatures that kill most vegetables. Its signature compound, allyl isothiocyanate, gives that familiar sinus-clearing heat, the same compound found in wasabi, and provides antibacterial and anti-inflammatory benefits. How to grow. Zones 3 to 9. Thrives in full sun. Plant root cuttings in spring. Harvest in late fall. Contain it in barrels or raised beds to control spreading. Leave small root pieces in the ground to regrow next year. Horseradish thrives on neglect. Forget to water it? It won't mind. Try to remove it? It'll laugh and grow back twice as strong. Over time, the roots deepen in both flavor and heat, a spicy testament to endurance. For seasoned gardeners, horseradish is more than a condiment crop. It's a symbol of persistence. Stronger with age, just like the hands that tend it. Horseradish brings the heat, but our next perennial offers the cool tang of lemon and the steady reliability of spring's first green. Crop number 8, sorrel. Long before kale became trendy, French monks grew sorrel in monastery gardens for its cleansing spirit. Its bright, lemony flavor cut through rich dishes, and its resilience made it a gardener's treasure. Modern science now echoes that wisdom. The Tufts University Nutrition and Aging Study, 2022, found that sorrel's high levels of antioxidants and oxalic acid support digestion and cardiovascular health, particularly for adults over 50. As one of the earliest greens to appear each spring, sorrel bridges the hungry gap, the period when most annual vegetables are still seedlings. How to grow. Zones 4 to 9. Thrives in partial sun or light shade. Harvest outer leaves, often to encourage regrowth. Divide every 4 to 5 years to maintain vigor. With its silky, arrow-shaped leaves and metallic green shimmer, sorrel brings both beauty and brightness to any corner of the garden. It shrugs off frost, bounces back from heat, and asks for little, just space to grow and gratitude in return. For gardeners who crave simplicity, sorrel is a lifelong companion. Low effort, high flavor, always faithful. Its tangy bite reminds us that freshness isn't fleeting. It can return year after year. Sorrel brings zest to your plate, but the next perennial brings grit. A green so tough it laughs at winter and keeps on feeding when others fall. Crop number 9, perennial kale. Centuries ago, sailors packed kale aboard ships bound for distant continents, not just for food, but as medicine against scurvy. They knew something modern science now confirms. Kale is one of the toughest and most nourishing greens on Earth. The USDA Leafy Resilience Project, 2023, found that perennial kale varieties photosynthesize efficiently even in low light and cold, producing 4 times more harvests per year than standard annual kale. These plants also improve soil fertility by fixing nitrogen, creating natural mulch that benefits nearby crops. How to grow. Best in zones 7 to 10 with moist, fertile soil. Harvest outer leaves regularly. The plant regenerates from its core. Mulch in winter and prune lightly to encourage branching. Unlike annual kale, which fades after one season, perennial types like Dobbin's kale or Taunton Dean can thrive for 5 to 7 years. Their woody stems form miniature shrubs, holding strong even under snow. In fact, cold only makes the leaves sweeter, nature's own antifreeze. For older gardeners, perennial kale is the definition of low maintenance, high reward. It feeds you through winter, enriches your soil, and comes back stronger each year. A living anthem of endurance. Every frost, every storm, every spring return feels like a quiet victory, the kind that keeps gardeners going. Kale stands firm through the cold, but our final heirloom turns something fleeting, like a flower, into lasting nourishment. Crop number 10, daylilies. In ancient China, daylilies were called golden needles, not for their shape, but for their worth. Emperors prized them as both medicine and delicacy, harvesting buds for soups and roots for stews. Today, the University of Hawaii Tropical Crop Research Program, 2023, confirms what those royal gardeners already knew. Daylilies are polyextensive perennials, plants that multiply exponentially while tolerating drought, heat, and even poor urban soils. Nutritionally, their buds rival green beans in beta-carotene and fiber, while their roots contain natural antioxidants that support digestion. How to grow. Hardy in zones 4 to 10, tolerant of both full sun and partial shade. Divide clumps every 3 to 4 years to renew growth. Harvest flower buds just before bloom for tenderness, or dig roots in fall for mild, nutty flavor. Each plant produces hundreds of buds per season, enough to feed a family and still leave blooms for beauty. They thrive with little care, multiplying into generous clumps that return each spring brighter and bolder. Daylilies prove that beauty and practicality can share the same root. For gardeners who love both color and sustenance, they're the perfect blend, an edible bloom that's as resilient as it is radiant. It's not just a flower. It's a feast that greets you every summer and asks for almost nothing in return. 10 crops, 1 philosophy, less labor, more life. But what makes these plants so enduring when others fail? As it turns out, the answer lies deep in their biology. Why perennials outlast and outgive. According to the USDA Plant Longevity Study, 2023, perennial vegetables devote most of their energy below the surface. Instead of burning out in one growing season, they store nutrients deep in root crowns, bulbs, or tubers, natural batteries that recharge year after year. This underground strategy allows them to rebound after droughts, frosts, or even heavy harvests without the need for replanting. The Cornell Soil Carbon Project, 2022, adds another layer of benefit. Deep-rooted perennials increase soil carbon by an average of 35% compared to annual crops. This not only improves fertility, but also enhances soil structure and water retention, crucial for gardeners facing erratic weather and poor soils. Beyond ecology, the effects extend to human health. The Harvard Aging and Well-Being Research, 2023, found that older adults who cultivate low-maintenance perennial gardens report higher physical activity, improved mood regulation, and lower anxiety levels. Gardening with perennials isn't just easier on the knees, it's better for the heart and mind. Perennials don't just survive, they sustain. They turn hard soil into living memory and daily chores into quiet rituals of joy. In every returning leaf and bloom lies a reminder: wisdom grows underground. So, what does this mean for your garden and for your peace of mind? From Jefferson's timeless asparagus to the humble kale that still feeds through snow, these 10 heirlooms remind us that great gardens aren't built in a season. They're grown in trust, time, and care. The National Gardening Association, 2023, reports that gardeners over 55 who grow perennials experience 40% less stress and more year-round satisfaction than those tending annual beds. When your garden gives without demanding constant labor, life itself begins to slow to a gentler rhythm, one that rewards presence over effort. Like the rhubarb that's nourished a Yorkshire family for over 150 years, your garden can become a living heirloom, a sanctuary that outlasts weather, worry, and even generations. So, plan for the future, not just the season. Let the roots deepen, let the soil rest, and let your garden remember what you started. Plant once, tend lightly, and let the roots carry your story forward. Why survival crops work? Perennial and self-seeding crops devote nearly 70% of their energy to underground systems, roots, rhizomes, and tubers. This hidden infrastructure allows them to survive frost, drought, and neglect, re-emerging season after season without replanting. Deep-rooted plants, such as sunchokes and amaranth, increase soil carbon retention by up to 35%, improving structure, drainage, and fertility over time. These crops don't just feed gardeners, they rebuild the very soil that sustains them, turning each season into an investment in long-term abundance. Older adults who practice low-labor gardening, favoring perennials, container systems, and ground-covering species, report 30% higher emotional resilience, mobility, and life satisfaction. The key is sustainability through simplicity, less strain, more reward. Survival crops don't just nourish the body, they sustain the spirit. They transform effort into ease, anxiety into assurance, and soil into security. With every root that strengthens the ground, they remind us that the best systems, like the best people, endure quietly and grow stronger under pressure. So when the world feels uncertain, your garden stands ready to remind you, endurance grows from within. From sunchokes and kale to horseradish and apple trees, these 10 crops prove that real security doesn't come from grocery shelves or supply chains. It grows from the earth you tend yourself. A garden of resilient plants becomes a living pantry, a daily reassurance that tomorrow's meal is already waiting to grow. The National Gardening Association, 2023, reports that gardeners over 55 who grow perennials and long storage crops experience 40% less food anxiety and higher year-round satisfaction. Stability, it seems, can be cultivated one root at a time. My neighbor Martha, 72, still tends the apple tree her father planted after World War II. Each autumn, when she bites into the first crisp fruit, she smiles and says, "It's not just food. It's proof we can make it through." Plant once, tend lightly, and let your garden remember what strength feels like.